Hello, young ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Joseph Butler, your geriatrician, and today we need to talk about something that scares many people over 60. The difference between normal age-related forgetfulness and the earliest warning signs of dementia. Because, let me tell you something that I see almost every week in my clinic. People who are terrified because they misplaced their glasses, forgot a name, or entered a room and can't remember why, and they immediately assume it must be Alzheimer ES. On the other hand, I also see families ignoring subtle but very real early signs of cognitive decline because they look harmless at first. So today, I want to bring clarity, comfort, and truth. What is normal? What is not? And when should you really pay attention? Memory changes are a natural part of aging. Your brain is not breaking, it is adapting. You have more experiences, more information stored, more memories than almost any other age group, and retrieving them sometimes takes longer. That's not dementia, that's normal. But dementia is something different. It is not a normal part of aging. It involves progressive damage to brain cells that affects memory, reasoning, behavior, language, and the ability to perform daily tasks. Dementia does not come suddenly. It starts quietly, whispering, creating tiny cracks long before the bigger symptoms appear. And that's why understanding the difference can literally change your future, because early action can preserve years of independence. Let's begin with normal forgetfulness. If you forget where you placed your keys, that's normal. If you walk into a room and can't remember your purpose, that's normal. If you occasionally forget someone's name but remember it later, that is absolutely normal. In fact, studies from the National Institute on Aging show that episodic memory, the type of memory used for recalling recent conversations or where you parked your car, naturally declines with age. But your wisdom, emotional memory, moral reasoning, vocabulary, humor, empathy, and life experience, those continue to grow. Normal aging does not erase who you are. Dementia gradually disconnects you from yourself. Now, what about dementia? What are the earliest signs that are meaningful? The biggest difference is interference with daily life. Forgetting your keys is normal. Forgetting how to use them is not. Forgetting a recent conversation is common. Forgetting that the conversation ever happened repeatedly is not. Repeating the same question every few minutes, that is a red flag. Getting lost in a familiar neighborhood, struggling to manage finances you once handled easily, confusion about dates and time, difficulty following recipes or instructions, these deserve attention. Another early sign is personality change. I'm not talking about becoming a little more irritable once in a while. I mean sudden withdrawal, paranoia, apathy, losing interest in hobbies, or becoming uncharacteristically suspicious. Dementia affects the brain's frontal systems first in many cases, which govern planning, judgment, and emotional regulation. When these areas start declining, the changes may be subtle, but they are not random. Let me share something from my 30 years as a geriatrician. Memory decline usually frightens people more than it should, while early dementia often hides in plain sight. That's why education is powerful. When you understand what's expected and what's alarming, you regain control. Many seniors fear the occasional memory slip, but most of those cases are what we call age-associated memory impairment. It does not interfere with independence, it does not worsen rapidly, and it does not change your personality. Dementia, on the other hand, progresses. It slowly steals abilities that were once automatic. Driving, managing appointments, recognizing familiar faces. The key is observing patterns. Does the person improve with reminders, notes, and organization? Or do even simple reminders fail to help? That difference matters. Let's talk about the brain itself. Blood flow may decrease a bit. Processing speed slows. But in dementia, there is significant structural damage. Protein plaques, beta amyloid, tangles, TLU, inflammation, and loss of synapses. These biological changes are not seen in normal aging. And here's something hopeful. Lifestyle influences these processes more than most people realize. Exercise, nutrition, sleep, stress management, and cognitive engagement can reduce your risk by up to 40%, according to large studies from the Lancet Commission on Dementia. So, what are the protective habits? First, movement. Walking, swimming, dancing. Anything that increases blood flow to the brain. Exercise is the closest thing we have to a brain drug. Second, diet. A Mediterranean-style pattern rich in leafy greens, berries, olive oil, nuts, and fish provides antioxidants and reduces inflammation. Third, sleep. Deep sleep clears toxins from the brain through something called the glymphatic system, which becomes less effective when you don't sleep well. Fourth, brain challenges. Not simple crossword puzzles repeated daily, but new, unfamiliar tasks. Learn a new skill, a language, a hobby, or even how to play an instrument. The brain loves novelty. It rewires through challenge. And finally, connection. Isolation is one of the biggest accelerators of cognitive decline. The brain is a social organ. Conversations stimulate memory, reasoning, and emotional processing. But let's return to the distinction between forgetfulness and dementia. Here is a scenario I often see. A patient tells me, "Doctor, I lost my car in the parking lot. Is that dementia?" And I say, "No, that is being human." Then a spouse tells me, "Doctor, he forgot how to get home from the grocery store he has driven to for 30 years. That is different." Another example. A patient forgets the word refrigerator. Normal. But forgetting what a refrigerator is for, that deserves medical evaluation. One more. Repeating a story occasionally. Normal. Telling the same story 3 times in 1 hour and not realizing it. Concerning. Normal aging is about slower access to information. Dementia is about losing the information entirely. Let me also address a very common issue in seniors: depression masquerading as dementia. Many people over 60 experience what is called pseudo-dementia. They lose motivation, concentration, and memory not because the brain is degenerating, but because mood is affecting cognition. The good news? When the depression is treated, memory often improves significantly. That's why the emotional health of seniors is not optional. It is fundamental. Now, what should someone do if they notice concerning signs? The first step is not panic. It's evaluation. A geriatrician will perform a cognitive screening test, review medications that may impact memory, order labs to check for vitamin deficiencies, especially B12, thyroid problems, infections, or other reversible causes. Sometimes, imaging like an MRI helps clarify what's happening in the brain. Most importantly, early diagnosis allows early intervention. We now have medications that can slow progression in certain types of dementia when used at the right stage. And even more important than medication is lifestyle modification, which has shown remarkable protective effects. Let me tell you something I believe deeply. Your brain is capable of change at any age. Neuroplasticity does not disappear at 60, 70, 80, or even 90. I've seen patients improve dramatically when they began exercising, eating better, sleeping more consistently, and challenging their minds. Your brain wants to thrive. You just need to give it the right environment. Before we close, I want to give you a moment of reassurance. If you forget small things, names, appointments, directions, that does not mean your mind is failing. You are aging. And aging is not a disease. It is a privilege denied to many. Your goal is not to have a perfect brain. Your goal is to have a functioning, resilient, and supported brain. On the other hand, if you or someone you love is showing repeated confusion, significant personality changes, getting lost, mismanaging finances, or forgetting conversations entirely, that is when you must pay closer attention. Doing so early can change the course of the next 10 or 20 years. I want you to remember this message today. Forgetfulness is common, expected, and manageable. Dementia is a medical condition, not your destiny. You have far more control than you think. Every healthy choice you make is like putting armor around your brain, and you can start today. Thank you so much for being here with me. If this video brought clarity or comfort, I'd be honored if you subscribe to our community here at Healthcare Seniors. This channel is dedicated to bringing truth, science, and compassion to everyone navigating the gift and the challenges of aging. Don't forget to leave your like, share your experience in the comments, and join us for our next video. Until then, take care of your mind. It's the most precious thing you own.
Join us on Healthcare Seniors.
Amen. Be part of our community and watch the next video.